What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. This is Wrecked, and thank you for stopping by another video. Today, we're gonna talk about something a little bit different than what you are, used to here on the channel. I've been thinking about doing a video like this for a while, and it's gonna be a real in-depth, uh, I guess, vulnerable, kind of intimate video between me and the people who view it. Uh, I normally do strictly just like video game stuff, right? From video game collecting to conventions and just all things nerd culture. I'm just really into video games and movies, pop culture, things like that. You know that if you've watched the channel before. But today I wanted to talk about something a little bit different just because I think that it might be able to help some people or kind of give people more of a background on who I am as a person, as a creator, and where I was and where I'm headed in my journey. And it's definitely something I've never really publicly talked about in detail a whole bunch, but I thought that, the struggles and the journey that I've gone through in my life, you know, maybe if I conveyed that to you guys or told you a little bit about my story, that maybe it could help somebody else out there in the community that struggled with the same things that, I struggled with, or things that I'm still struggling with today. And I've never really opened up, in this way here on the channel. But again, I wanted to put this out there. I had some really amazing friends of the channel, Matt, RetroWolf88, reached out to me and really gave me this idea of sharing my story with you guys. And, I don't know how long this video is going to go, but, like I said, if you're interested, please stick around and check it out. But yeah, I wanted to talk about a bunch of things, primarily my weight loss journey and how it correlated to gaming, and how gaming itself can kind of be like this double-edged sword, and it could be a great thing, but it can also be a negative thing that can impact people differently, and how it's affected me my entire life. How gaming was always kind of like an enjoyment for me, but it was also a coping mechanism, with issues that I've dealt with in my life. So first of all, thank you all so much for being here, but let's jump right into it. So about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, I decided to make the decision to have, I guess, major weight loss surgery. Yeah, last July of 2022, I had gastric sleeve surgery. And, it was one of those things where I thought about it for a long time. Growing up, I was never big or really overweight. I played sports in high school. I was pretty active with my friends. I was in a band. Just was out and about, always doing things. But gaming was always a huge part of my life. And it wasn't until I graduated high school and I got into the union and I started working in construction as a heavy equipment operator, to where I really started to see a massive like gain in weight over the years. And a lot of that was because of bad relationship that I was in, from the time I was 18 till I was about 23 years old. A lot of, other factors that played into it was, things like depression and anxiety and just sheer laziness, if I'm being honest. I mean, I have very lazy, procrastinating tendencies, and, I try to do better every day. I'm not perfect by any means, but the weight gain definitely added to that and made it even worse than what it was. And when I was saying earlier that video games can be kind of like a double-edged sword, is because yes, video games make us happy. They do. We love them. No matter what kind of video games that you play, there's a reason why we do play them, is because they do bring us joy and happiness. And for me, video games was always an escape from the real world, right? It was an escape from all the bullshit that goes on, you know, because the world is really a dark, fucked up place majority of the time. Now, there are a lot of good things in this world and things that give me hope, but a lot of us use video games as an escape to get away from all of the bad things that have happened to us in our lives or things that we're dealing with on a regular basis. And that's where, you know, video games can be a great thing, but they can also be a really bad thing. I do believe now that everything is better in moderation. As you look at all my collectibles in the back, right? I must be out of my fucking mind. But I used video games as an escape from shit that I went through when I was younger. Now, totally transparent, I have an amazing family, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, an amazing wife, wonderful, beautiful children that I love all of them. They've always been super supportive of me, but it was other things that I dealt with that, you know, maybe you can leave down in the comments or share your story with me. But I got to a point as an adult, you know, I was in a rough relationship for about 5 years, and, you know, I used video games to kind of escape all of that. And I kind of secluded myself when I wasn't working in my bedroom, just playing games and eating and getting more and more unhealthy and gaining weight. And now, to give you a little background, I was about 200 pounds, 215 pounds when I graduated high school in 2009. And my heaviest weight that I was a year ago was close to 400 pounds. You know, I'll put a picture here or somewhere so you can kind of see. But yeah, close to 400 pounds was my heaviest. I had severe sleep apnea. You know, when they ran the tests on me, the doctor basically said that I stopped breathing about 86, 87 times per hour, which I guess is really bad. And so I also had, you know, full-blown type 2 diabetes. And, you know, I'm 32 years old. I know I look a lot older, trust me. But, you know, being in my early 30s, you know, having all of these health issues, it was scary. I mean, I felt like complete dog shit all the time. I was tired all the time. I could sleep for 12 hours a day and still be completely exhausted. You know, and it took a toll on me physically, but it took an even bigger toll on me mentally, right? It's like, you know, I'm the fat guy. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt like that, you know, in your group of friends or at work, just your everyday life. Mentally, it was depressing. It was rough, to where I felt less than a lot of the times. I felt just like shit a lot, if I'm being completely honest. And, you know, it's a little hard for me to talk about just because, you know, it's just, I'm not looking for a pity party. I'm looking to reach out to people that maybe have felt that way. You know, getting made fun of, you know, as gamers, we get made fun of all the time. Those of you who are old enough to remember, video games was not this mainstream thing when we were growing up. You know, if you played video games and it wasn't Madden or 2K or Call of Duty, you know, if you were an RPG kid or something like that, you were a fucking nerd. You were a geek. You were weird. You know, if you liked anime, you were fucking weird. Like, you know, I remember watching anime back in the 90s, you know, growing up, and, you know, we didn't really talk about that stuff openly because we were fucking geeks, right? You play Dungeons and Dragons and you live in your mom's basement and you're a fucking loser and you're never gonna amount to shit. And, you know, it just wears on you after the years and years of hearing these things. And then, you know, to gain this weight, you know, not being big most of my life. And then when I became an adult, I just gained weight and gained weight and gained weight. And it just was getting worse. And I was getting sicker and I was feeling terrible. But I hid behind video games. I I kept all those feelings inside and pressed them down, and I would get lost in these games. And I think that's a big reason why I'm so into games like RPGs, was because I felt like I could pretend I was the character in the game and lose myself in this open world and be who I wanted to be in these games, games like Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls in general, and Dragon Age, and even Zelda, and I just, it made me happy. It helped me forget about how fucked up people are and how mean people are. And that's the real world, you guys. I mean, I work in construction. I've been in construction since I was turned 18 years old. And I've worked with a lot of assholes, that, oh, you play fucking video games, you fucking nerd, or, oh, Mike, the fat fuck, lazy piece of shit. Yeah, I've heard it all, and you learn to develop thick skin, but behind closed doors, it beats on you. It really does. Being a fat gamer, I was the fat guy for years and years and years, and I didn't really start getting a wake-up call until I started physically feeling sick and having children. That's, I think, when it really started to click for me that I needed to make a change in my life. Because if I'm being honest, and I'm not trying to sound over dramatic at all, you guys, but I was scared to die. If I'm being honest, I was constantly in and out of the hospital for issues, and it was getting worse. It got to a point to where I was struggling physically to keep up at my job, the thing that I need to have to provide for my wife and for my children, so that my kids can have nice things, so that I can provide for them the way that I feel as their father and as a husband that I need to do. And being 400 pounds in construction, working 10 or 12-hour days, 5 or 6 days a week, up at 3 a.m, working all day, not getting home till 8 o'clock at night, 4 hours of commuting every day for the last 14 years. I was like, man, I was at work one day, and I just was like, I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I think I might need some time off to go fix myself, because I'm really struggling. I was in pain every day. My knees, my back, the diabetes symptoms were getting worse. The bottoms of my feet felt like they were on fire. I don't know if any of you that have dealt with diabetes have felt symptoms like that. Like I said, physically exhausted, mentally exhausted. And like I said, video games can be a double-edged sword where, yes, they make you happy and they help you escape. But, you also, it's not healthy to play them all the time, every day, and not get any type of physical activity, or at least smaller things that you can change in your life, like changing your diet or whatever you can do to help feel better physically. Because honestly, this surgery, yes, people will say, Rec, you took the easy way out. Guys, that might be true, but I don't care how I got to where I am today. I'm just happy I'm here, if I'm being honest, because I was scared to die. I was scared to lose my job. I was scared to not see my kids grow up, or, to even go in the backyard and play with my kids, or enjoy these video games and all these cool things with my kids. I'm 32 years old, man. At the rate I was going to be 500 pounds by the time I was fucking 40 and die of a heart attack, if I even made it that far. And I know this all sounds dramatic, but it's kind of true. And it was really hard for me, and it took a toll on my mental state to where I was depressed all the time. It got to a point in my life where it was hard for me to even get out of bed, to find a reason to get out of bed. And then, there were other things that played into it where it was like, I have an amazing family. I've said that in the video already, but what have I done with my life? What have I done with my life that was for me, that really made a difference for me, and something that was mine, something that I'm good at, a hobby or a passion. And yeah, I love video games, but what did I want to do besides just getting up every day and working a construction gig? And that was when I started, doing content creation. That was like 3 years ago, over 3 years ago now, when COVID started. Now, mind you, I was on Twitch streaming back in like 2014, 2015, right after it went from Justin TV to Twitch. And, I never took it seriously back then, but then COVID hit in 2020, as we all know very well. And I remember I was sitting in the garage watching TV, doing something out there, working on something, doing something. And I started watching Harris Heller videos, and everybody was jumping on streaming and content creation because everybody was locked in their fucking houses. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't see friends and family and go to stores and do anything. Everything was shut down. And I started watching these videos, and it kind of inspired me to want to do something different with my life. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't going to jump and quit my job and be a streamer full time. That's irrational. I have a family to provide for. But it was something that I could do that brought me happiness because I got to hang out with other people that thought like me. Other people that enjoyed the same things that I enjoyed, and I could share those passions with people from all over the world and build relationships. Because guys, I'm going to be honest, being the fat guy, it's pretty fucking lonely. And it made me really sad all the time, and it was hard for me to feel lonely, and COVID added to that by not being able to be social and go out and do these things. It took a toll on my wife, scared to death that we would bring something home to the kids and get them sick. My wife lost a couple family members from COVID. I had friends lose family members, and friends that didn't make it through COVID, and it's sad and it breaks my heart. And I needed an outlet, and that's where content creation came into it. And Harris Heller was very inspiring for me. I was like, man, I could do this. I mean, I still had all my gear, or most of it, from when I streamed before. I had, a Blue Yeti microphone, and I had a headset, and I had a pretty good computer. And I was like, and I love video games, and this is something I could really do and enjoy and love. And I started doing it, and I met so many amazing people that I'm still friends with to this day after over 3 years, that I talk to on a regular basis, that I hang out with on a regular basis. And then, after a while, that flare of Twitch kind of died down for me, and I was like, well, I think I really want to start doing YouTube. And there was a lot of channels that were huge inspirations for me. I've been watching retro creators on YouTube for over a decade at this point. Channels like Metal Jesus Rocks, Happy Console Gamer, Pat the NES Punk, Adam Koralik, a lot of the OGs. How can we forget Angry Video Game Nerd, and so many others? And then it brought me into this new generation of YouTubers, and it was all like a domino effect of how I found people, through the recommended tab, through Instagram, through Twitter, through TikTok. And now I'm watching channels like Pixel Game Squad and Mort's Garage and Chase After the Right Price and, Pac-Man Case and, GameCube Galaxy and Mr. Rightway. The list goes on and on for me. And being in construction and commuting so many hours a day, I would just put these guys on video after video after video, just listening while I would drive, like a podcast, just kind of listening in, not even necessarily watching. And I've learned so much from them, and it ignited this passion in me to want to do what they're doing. And no, guys, realistically, do I think I'm going to be the next Metal Jesus or the next, Tim the Tap Man or any of these famous content creators making great money as a full-time content creator? No. I'm kind of a more of a like realistic thinking kind of person where like in reality, yeah, everybody would love to get to play for the, play in the NFL and make millions of dollars, but there's only a handful of people in this big world that get to do that. I'm doing this because I love it and it's a passion of mine. And, even then making content and people enjoying it and some people not enjoying it, um, really, really helped with my self-esteem. Nobody judged me here in this community, right? Like nobody made fun of me for being fat or for liking the games that I liked or just being a nerd in general. I didn't feel so alone anymore. And I felt like the community kind of welcomed me with open arms. I was watching a Pixel Plus podcast like a week or two ago, and me and my wife, we were watching it together, and she swears that I knew about it, but I didn't. But Riff brought me up in the podcast about when they came into my very first YouTube partner stream and how happy it made me. And my wife, thought it was so cute but funny that I was literally grinning from ear to ear when they mentioned me on the podcast because I had no idea that they even thought of me. And yeah, my first YouTube partner stream, guys, when I hit YouTube partner, that was like a dream come true. I mean, it made me feel good about myself. It made me feel like I achieved a goal on this journey that I wanted so badly. And, yeah, John Riggs and, the Pixel Game Squad, Gabo, Riff, Ricky, they all came into my very first stream and they made me feel accepted. They made me feel like an equal, like, hey man, you're a content creator like us. You're part of the family. And that meant more to me than anything on this journey, man. Like I've done a lot of great things on this journey. I have collectively with my friends raised over $16,000 for Extra Life, which is a charity, and we did it through streaming. And these were two events that I organized and was able to do that with a group of friends and really help make a difference. That's a huge thing in my streaming career. And but to have legends like them take time out of their day and spend it with me as a YouTube partner really helped. But I was still unhappy. I was still depressed. And I think a lot of that had to do with my weight. I was tired of getting made fun of. I was tired of clothes not fitting. And I was tired of, feeling like shit all the time, mentally and physically, and, getting sick all the time. It was just not fun. It was not at all. I'm all about body positivity, guys, but being a guy who was 400 pounds a year ago, I feel like I have the right to speak on this. It is not fucking fun being fat, not just for the aspect of getting made fun of and getting treated differently because of the way that you look, but the physical aspect of it. I felt terrible all the fucking time. I hurt all the time. It just wasn't good. So I needed to make a change. And I reached out to my doctor and I said, what can we do? What are some options? Now, I will admit, I had no self-control. I had no discipline. Yeah, everybody's like, dude, just eat less and go to the gym. You're right. I should have. And I didn't, because I'm fucking lazy. And mentally, I just had no drive. I didn't at all. That's the truth. No fucking drive at all to get up and drive to a gym or even do push-ups in my fucking house. If I could even have done a push-up, I couldn't even do a push-up. And reached out to my doctor and we got a plan together. And I had to go through their entire bariatrics program, and I completed it, and they did the surgery. And I'm proud to say that as of the making of this video, I'm down to 185 pounds. I've lost close to 200 pounds, and I am sleep apnea and diabetes free. And I feel physically so much better than I have in a very, very long time. not just physically, but mentally as well. Um, it's a fucked up thing to say, but people treat you differently when you're skinny, I guess, which is wrong because I'm still the same person I've always been. Nothing's changed. Um, but they do. The society looks at you differently. I'm still a big fucking nerd. Look at this room. Granted, yeah, this is like our family room. My kids and my wife, we all come in here, friends. We play video games together and spend a lot of time together watching movies and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But like, yeah, I'm still the same nerdy, goofy fucking guy that I've always been. But now I'm just physically healthier than I've ever been. And, you know, it was a huge turning point for me to do this, and the results were amazing. Now, yes, people say you took the easy way out, but it's not just having the surgery makes everything better. It's not some magic pill where you take it and it snaps your fingers and you're skinny and everything's good. There are a lot of people that get these surgeries that it doesn't work for them. They gain all the weight back, or they don't lose any at all because they don't follow what their doctor says. Now, this isn't any kind of medical advice at all. You should not listen to any kind of, this is just what worked for me. If you're interested, talk to your doctor, right? But my journey was, I followed everything that my doctor told me to do. You have to take your vitamins. You have to eat healthier. You have to get some physical activity, or this will not work. It's not this magic end all be all fix it thing that you don't have to do anything. You just get the surgery and poof, you're skinny. It doesn't work like that. You know, the recovery was a bitch, and I'm still struggling to this day. I mean, eating food is absolutely fucking miserable, which I guess isn't a bad thing because eating food is what got me in the position I was in. It was a domino effect where I was depressed and I was in a bad relationship and I was going through shit in my life and I really didn't like my job. Construction is a bitch. It's a hard life. It really is. You have your ups and downs. So when you're depressed, what do? You find coping mechanisms, whether it's drinking alcohol or drugs or gambling. In my case, it was food and video games. And video games aren't a bad thing, but I was hiding behind all of my problems with video games. But the good part is now that I have more energy than I've had since I was a teenager, I can go out and do all of these fun things that I get to do now. I have the drive and the energy to get up and go to conventions, to get up at 5 a.m. and go flea market hunting for video games, to take my kids out and to play with my kids, or to play video games with my kids, or to take them to these conventions and flea markets. And I have this drive now to make content where with the depression and the weight, I was finding it harder and harder to make content anymore because I just didn't want to. I didn't have the drive or the energy to do it. And so video games have brought me a lot of joy. It's something that I share with my children on a regular basis. We play games and watch movies together that I grew up with, in the 90s all the time. And my daughter loves it. I mean, my daughter is almost 3 years old and knows how to put a VHS tape in the VCR and watch videos. And, we play the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 2, and she has a Switch Lite that we play all the Kirby games on together, and it brings me so much joy. You have no freaking idea. I mean, just the littlest things have changed in my life that have made me happier. Now, I'm not out of the woods yet, you guys. I'm not perfect. I still battle with depression, dealing with real life shit all the time. We all do, but the little things that have changed in my life have made me happier. The way people treat me, the way people view me, all the compliments have been so uplifting. People have been so encouraging and motivating. It has really done wonders for my mental state. Even going shopping for clothes, I feel good about myself. I went from a 5X shirt down to a large. I can wear regular clothes again. I can go to a store and see, oh, that shirt looks really cool, and I can finally get it. I'm telling you guys, it makes a world of difference. But I want all of you to know that if you're battling with these things, whether it's depression or your weight or, people making fun of you because you love what you love, you're not alone. I was there a year ago. I'm still there. I'm still battling with things, but I'm still a fucking nerd, and that's never gonna fucking change. And if people have a problem with that, fuck you, right? That's what you have to tell people. You can't go through your life with regret. You can't go through your life wondering what would it have been like if I actually did the things that I loved doing. Like if I didn't listen to all these fucking assholes over here telling me what was right and what was wrong. If I followed what I loved, what made me me, how different would my life have been? That was my fear, was that I was going to look back at 60 years old and be like, well, I had a good job in construction, but what did I do for me? What made me happy? And I don't want to have that regret. People walk into my house and they see all this nerdy shit, and I don't care what people think. That's just me. That's who I am. And you have to learn to love yourself and realize you get one life to live, dude. You get one. When your time is up and punch your clock, that's it. And do you want to, leave this earth with regrets or what ifs? Like, what if I was happy? What if I did the things I love to do? And it doesn't necessarily have to be video games. But nerds have been getting shit for a long fucking time. And I'm finally glad that, video games and pop culture and anime and all these cool fucking things that have always been fucking cool are finally being socially accepted. I mean, for God's sakes, we have fucking esports now, right? Video games is a sport, that's cool. That's great. The culture is changing to where being a jock is not necessarily the end all be all. Like, that's the cool kids thing to do, right? Playing fucking Xbox with your friends, man. Like that's the cool thing now. That's the fun thing. Everybody's streaming now and making content and talking about things that they love and they're passionate about, and they're building these communities of amazing people and sharing their passions with each other. And that's how it always should have been. And if you're battling with any of these issues, again, you're not alone. And my DMs are always open. I have Instagram, I have Twitter, I have a Discord. If you ever need to talk, hit me up. Because God knows that there were times when I was pretty fucked up and sad and lonely and dealing with shit in my life, that my friends from Twitch and YouTube were there for me, and I didn't feel so alone. And I love my friends. I do. I've met so many amazing people on this journey. The YouTube community has been amazing. Gamer Aimer, Retro Wolf, GameCube Galaxy, Pixel Game Squad, Adam Koralik, Retro Rivals, Pac-Man Case. I mean, there's so many good people out there, good, wholesome, loving people in the community that just kick ass, man. So we're supposed to be a family. We're supposed to, be there for each other. And granted, not everybody's always going to get along. It's naive to think that. And I know that people are going to have disagreements on how to make content or how to collect, or, there's always going to be gatekeeping assholes in the space that you love. But fuck them too. They don't fucking matter. But guys, I've rambled enough. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. And if you're dealing with this shit, there's always help out there. There's always options. And, really, really reach out, and things will get better. But again, you're not alone. Thanks for watching, guys.